There are some things I just wish I would have known earlier into my 20s. So you clicked on this video because you're either in your 20s, going into your 20s, or you're in your 30s and you just want to see if you agree or not. Either way, let's get into it. I have been wanting to do this video for a while. I've been jotting down things as they've come to mind over the last few weeks, and here we are with this video. So can't wait to share it with you guys. Before we get started, go ahead and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Go ahead and like the video as well, and we will go ahead and get into it. So my first piece of advice is to save your money. Save your money, save your money, save your money, save your money. This is actually something that I didn't personally struggle with. I was very good at saving my money. I was saving up for something. So sometimes that helps when you're actually like saving up for something. I was saving up to purchase a home. I was saving up for a rainy day fund. I was saving up for FU money, if y'all know what that is. I was saving my money because what I realized was that when I was, I think it was 2015, and it was one of my first jobs out of college, and I was laid off. And I feel like for anyone who can relate to being laid off, you know that it is, for a lot of people, it is one of those life events that really kind of shakes you to your core, because you're like, wait a minute, how can someone just who was offering me employment, how can someone who, you know, was paying my bills essentially just say we're not going to do that anymore? And for me, that was a very eye-opening experience, because honestly, up until then, everything was cool. I had never been laid off before. I was usually always working, always had income coming in. And I think that was just one of those events, those life events for me, that I was just like, okay, wait a minute. I need to make sure that no matter what happens, I always have money to take care of myself in the event that someone decides that they want to, you know, have a massive layoff and lay off a bunch of people, and you're one of the unlucky ones. You know, need to have a rainy day fund. And you also need to make sure that you are thinking about what are some of those next things in your life that you are going to want to be able to do. Maybe you want to purchase a home. Maybe you're saving up for a new car. Maybe you're saving up to pay off your loans. Whatever it is, maybe you're saving up to travel. Maybe you're saving up because you know that having a savings account and having the mindset of I'm good right now, but tomorrow might be different is a very good mindset to have, specifically in your 20s, when a lot of people are not really moving with that same mindset. They haven't really had too many life events happen to them, or maybe they have. That's the other thing too. You might have people that have had things that have happened to them, but it's still never registered that I need to do something different. I need to change up the way that I'm out here, you know, moving and spending and things like that. And, you know, it doesn't have to be anything grand, although it could be. What I would typically do was make sure that everything that I needed to take care of in terms of like bills, what little bills I had, you know, back then, but even still now, take care of all of the things that I need to take care of. I give myself, you know, some room for spending, entertainment, thinking ahead about like any trips or anything, you know, coming up for that month that I, you know, am going to be doing. And then everything else goes into my savings. Or investments and things like that. So I just really want you guys to make sure that having a healthy savings account and having a, you know, however that savings account breaks down, whether it's, you know, savings, whether you're saving up to work towards something, whether that's a rainy day fund, like I said, whether that's FU money, or whether that is, what was the last one? There's one more in there. I'll insert it if I can remember. But essentially, investments. You know, saving to invest, right? So yeah, making sure that you keep that top of mind, that today I might be fine and everything is good, but you never know what can happen. You'll never know what you need, money for or need to be able to do very quickly. And making sure that you are disciplined with your finances is something that you will, just building up that discipline at a very young age is a skill that you will be so glad for when you are later in your 20s and your 30s, 40s, and so on and so forth. It's just a skill that you literally have to build up. Some people never build it up. But if no one ever told you to save your money, come up with some sort of mechanism that makes sense for you and your particular finances, I'm telling you, save your money. That also kind of goes into financial literacy, which I won't get into today. But also, YouTube is very free. Obviously, you have to make sure that you are vetting the people that you are listening to, that you are following. But becoming financially literate at a very young age, understanding about different ways to save, different methods to save, different ways to invest your money, that is a very good thing to at least start to try to wrap your mind around and try to at least understand some of these different methods and terminologies and different things like that. There are a ton of podcasts, gurus out there for you to get familiar with. So I would also throw that into your to-do list, is to just become a lot more financially literate. It will help you in the long run. The next piece of advice I have is pretty simple, and I will preface that this is not for everyone, and we will get into that, but stay at home as long as you can. I understand that when you are, especially like fresh out of college, or maybe you didn't even go to college, but maybe you started working right after high school and things like that. And I understand there's this urgency to be out on your own, especially if you did go to college and you were living alone and, for 4 years and you were on your own, or maybe you were living at home while you were going to college and, you really want to listen. A lot of the overarching theme of this video is that when you are young and in your 20s, you are in this space of feeling like you're super grown, because you are. But what you also have to realize is that you are in a space where you can take advantage of so many things. Living at home, if you have the opportunity to, if that is an option for you, is a way to not move too fast. And again, that's kind of the overarching theme of this video, is like, your perspective has to be, I'm in my 20s. Yes, I'm super grown. I feel super grown. I'm legal. I can do all of these things that maybe I wasn't able to do a few years ago. At the same time, you have to realize that your 20s is really like a runway. Like, if you think of it like a plane taking off on a runway, the plane kind of coasts for a little while, but gaining momentum and whatnot in order to take off and have a successful takeoff. That's what I like to think of your 20s as. And you have to understand that being in a rush to be grown, and being in a rush to pay bills, and being in a rush to have all of these responsibilities and do all of these things that cost money is not going to lend itself well to, or does not always lend itself well to you in the end. So if staying at home is an option for you, if it's a viable option for you, if it is a healthy option for you, if you have a healthy environment to stay home in, I would definitely recommend staying at home as long as you can. I stayed at home as long as I wanted to, as long as I could. And I will tell you that the me now at 31 thanks the me then that I stayed home as long as I did, because of what I am able to do now, because of what I'm able to have now when it matters. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, if we're going back to our airplane analogy, I'm like up in the air at this point, right? I'm no longer doing my coasting before takeoff. I've taken off. And my takeoff has been a lot smoother because I saved my money, because I was able to stay at home. Now, some people might say because you were able to stay at home is how you were able to save money. We can get into that another day. I've had businesses, other things, but yes, staying at home definitely was a driver and being able to save money. But even when you're living on your own, even when you have a family and you have dependents, you still have to be programming your mind that, okay, yes, we have to obviously spend for bills and things like that and entertainment and, whatnot, but I need to be saving. Yes, staying at home as long as you can, staying put, saving your money, staying with your head down, working on your career, working on and honing in on the skills that will only get you to the next level and get you to the next place that you want to be is very important. So yes, if it is a viable option for you, stay at home. Next tip that I have for you guys is one that is very uncomfortable, and it is that failure is your friend. So honestly, I will say that failure is never, or what feels like failure, because we also have to put failure in context. Failure is never something that anyone invites. It is never something that ever feels good. But I will tell you that failure has contributed to so much of my growth, or what I perceived as failure. Remember that time I told you I got laid off from my job, and massive layoff felt like the worst thing in the world. It really wasn't. I remember leaving work that day with like a few of my items, and I called my mentor and I was like, I just got laid off. I don't know what to do, because again, it feels like the world is ending. Like, how do you just go to work for all these days and then one day they tell you like, we're laying off your department, which means that, there goes your income. That thinking was just, that idea was just crazy to me. And my mentor was like, I remember him just being like, oh yeah, like, it's fine. And then he told me that he had gotten laid off once, and he got a severance from the company, and he found a job right away, and he was able to have two incomes for a while because he had a severance from the company that he got laid off at, and he was starting at his new job, and he was, making money at the same time. So he had two incomes essentially. And I was like, okay, anyways, that sounds all good, but I just got laid off, and this is like the worst thing in the world. Fast forward maybe like 4 weeks, I had landed a new job. So now here I am in a situation where I am getting a really nice severance from my previous company for like 4 months or something like that it was. And I'm getting another paycheck from my new job. So what did I do? I put all of that money from my severance right into my savings account and, did what I needed to do with the money that I was getting from my new job, and then also saved from that as well. So what I was able to do in that situation was get ahead. And what I realized was that, number one, that job that I was working, although it was a really great company, it was not where I needed to be when I look back on my career today. It was not somewhere I needed to stay. And I was probably going to stay because I thought I was where I needed to be. But sometimes getting pushed out of a situation that we may not have not necessarily known that we didn't need to be at in the first place, or it wasn't serving us in the best way, and having to get pushed out is what we need. And sometimes that alone feels like failure, but it's not. Number one, what did I learn from that? I was not a failure because of what happened to me. Okay, so that's number one. I was not a failure. Number two, I was able to stack my money. And number three, I was able to be now put on this trajectory that just continued to elevate my career. So trying to understand and just gain perspective, like now I have the perspective that my mentor had when I called him. If I get a phone call from someone younger than me and they're telling me that they got laid off, that's more than likely the advice or the wisdom that I'm going to impart. Number one, it is okay. It's fine. People get laid off every day. These companies are fickle. You can't predict it. As long as somebody else is signing your checks, you are at the mercy of whatever, however that company decides to function, to go up, to go down. You are literally at that mercy. So having that perspective now in my 30s is something that I wish I had back then. But again, most of this stuff comes with perspective. It comes with context. It comes with experience. But I just want to, again, impart some of these pieces of knowledge and wisdom on you guys if you have never heard them before. Another thing that I want to impart on you guys, and I really don't necessarily know where I'm going with this one, so this one might be a little short, but don't rush into long-term decisions. Now, I don't necessarily mean like don't buy a house if you're able, or don't, like that's not really what I'm talking about. But long term, again, thinking and remembering that you are in your 20s, you are young, you are nimble, you can, do different things a lot of times, right? Like we're not necessarily tied down early, especially in our 20s. Just remember that whatever you do now oftentimes will have an effect on you later in life. So kind of just like remembering that whatever you do now typically will carry with you. This is why we're trying to talk about, forming healthy habits and, gaining context for what it means to be in your 20s as opposed to later in your 30s and in your 40s. Like you're just starting out, you're so young, you have so much life ahead of you. Don't rush into long-term decisions, whatever that means to you. Assess it, see if it makes sense for you, but don't necessarily get tied down to it. Also, I don't know who this is for, but kind of going with like long-term decisions, heartbreak doesn't last forever. I don't know who needs to hear that. Somebody might. Oftentimes when we're in our 20s is when we feel like we have our most serious relationships because, again, we are adults, we're grown, we're able to, drink and travel and, we can do all those things with our partner and we're thinking about, building a life together. And then, in the next 6 months to a year, you're not even talking to that person anymore. So just really trying to understand that you are young. You are young. You have so much life ahead of you. Heartbreak doesn't last forever. Don't make any long-term decisions. You will be fine. Also, kind of going along with the heartbreak, you don't have to settle. I don't know who that's for, but you don't have to settle. Again, you are young. You have your entire life ahead of you. Settling, whether it is in a career, whether it is in a job or a relationship or a friendship, you do not have to settle. You have an abundance of options. You are, again, still young. You're still always the prize, whether that is in a relationship sense, like I said, whether that's in a friendship sense, whether that is in a job sense, you do not have to settle. So if nobody told you that, now you know. So the next thing that I want you guys to make sure that you are doing is to do something that is outside of your comfort zone. And I would say like even twice a year, do something that's outside of your comfort zone. So I'll give you an example. I attended a conference. I can't remember what year this was. I'm thinking 2018. That actually tracks. I think it was 2018 and 2019. Anyway, I went to Afrotech, which is one of the largest Black tech conferences in the U.S. And I had a friend that I was supposed to be going with. My company was paying for me to go. And I had a friend that I was supposed to be going with, but she ended up not being able to go at the last minute. And, I feel like so many times, especially when we're young, we're used to doing things with other people. We're used to doing things with our friends or with our coworkers and things like that. But since my job was literally paying for me to go, there wasn't any reason why I was going to say, okay, I'm not going because my friend's not going. And when I tell you that was the best decision that I have ever made, number one, to just go to the conference because it's an amazing conference if you've never been. But two, because I was able to, number one, just like meet so many people, and like that's a whole nother conversation for another day. But because I went alone, I had to be social. Sometimes when we go to things with other people, it's just kind of like you and that other person. But when you go with no one, you are forced to talk to everybody that you meet. You're forced to make friends. You're forced to form these bonds with people. It was a conference that I had to travel for, so I wasn't at home. And I had the best time. It's still hands down one of the best times of my life. I went the next year, but still, like, I met up with people that I met the previous year. I'm still friends with a lot of those people. One of the reasons that I started my business was because I went on this trip and I met so many people and I had different conversations, and it was a life-changing experience that I would have not done probably if earlier my friend had told me that she wasn't going. And, before I booked my travel and my trip and all that kind of stuff, and before I told my company I was going, I probably may not have gone. I don't know what I would have done, to be honest, right? Because we're used to like going to things with other people. It was the best thing. But again, had I not gotten out of my comfort zone, I never would have had those experiences. I never would have had those connections, and I wouldn't have started my business. So I just want you guys to, whether that's solo travel, whether it's attending conferences alone, whether it's like going out to eat by yourself, like do something that gets you out of your comfort zone. I promise you, your future self will thank you for it. And then the last thing that I just want to close with is to just please remember to have fun. I'm pretty sure that you guys are already doing that. But one of the things that I really realized as I am on TikTok and I am kind of, coming in contact with, via the app, a lot of younger people in their 20s. I feel like that generation is taking things so seriously. The internet is a great place. I'd like to think that my generation kind of really kicked off the internet with MySpace and Facebook and all the things that you guys have now. But even at that point, it wasn't serious. Like there were serious elements, but it wasn't so serious as it is today. And I just want you guys to remember to just have fun. Like you are in your 20s. You do have the opportunity to fail multiple times. And that's not to say that you can't fail when you're in your 30s or, things can't go wrong. But just remember to enjoy the ride. Everything is not so serious. It doesn't have to be super serious. Your relationships, your romantic relationships, they don't have to be super serious. They can be fun and you can date and you can, date jobs and you can, not feel or be super tied down to what it is that you're used to, whether it's a romantic partner or a job or an experience or something else that's kind of going on in the background. Just remember to have fun. There is a lot of life ahead of you. There are a lot of great things that are going to come. But just remember to enjoy the ride. When you're in your 20s, sometimes because you are kind of on that runway, as I was giving the analogy earlier, it feels like I got to get everything right so that I can have a proper takeoff, or oh shoot, I failed. That's a setback. But every setback isn't a setback. It's a, chance for you to just level up and just get better and, try something over. It's fine. If no one told you, it is fine. So just have fun. Be easy on yourself. Be easy on the people around you. Everyone is really figuring it out. Typically, everyone's kind of in the same boat. You might have friends or family around you that are your age that are in different boats, But all in all, just make sure that you are keeping it light, as light as you can, not taking stuff too serious. And just remember to just have fun. So I hope that some of these tips resonated with you guys. Like I said, I'm in my 30s, so I remember and I can look back to my 20s and what I was doing and what I was experiencing, and everything felt just like it was the end of the world and everything was just so bad. But everything's fine. Everything is fine. You look back and you're like, seriously, everything's fine. So I hope this helped someone today. If it did, let me know in the comments what resonated with you. If there's something else that you would like me to talk about, please go ahead and leave that in the comment as well. Don't forget to like the video, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.